When I was a kid, I used to hate summers. Now, I hadn't always hated them. Summers used to mean camping in Bar Harbor and surviving off a diet of Spam. It used to mean swimming at the local pool and unintentionally becoming queen of the belly flop. It used to mean sweaty popsicles and sticky fingers, razor scooters and secret playhouses, hours of tanning and subsequent aloe vera all over my body. That is, until my dad had a midlife crisis and added an additional member to our family. Her name was the Lost Retainer. She was 41 foot, hunter sailboat that was my father's eternal pride and joy. Now, she was a behemoth of a ship with wide hips and billowing sails and a lazy confidence due to her sheer size and weight. Summers changed when she arrived. They went from summer camps and sleepovers to 2-week sailing trips down the northeast coast. For many reasons, things weren't great. I mean, you have a pretty dysfunctional family, marooned on a boat in the middle of the ocean. It's like putting a bunch of firecrackers in a box and shaking it. But things weren't all bad. Since we would dance to Jimmy Buffett, and I quickly learned all the words to Cheeseburger in Paradise. Since it was my dad's boat, we lived off my dad's diet, spaghetti and Toblerone. My dad put all the sails out and would heel at such an angle you can almost kiss the waves. My mom screaming in terror the entire time, which we thought was hilarious. And then an accident happened one summer, right about here. We become too comfortable with Mother Nature, taking her for granted and never taking her seriously. So one day, she gave us a little reminder. I remember wind. It was wind. A lot of wind. Now, there are a couple big issues with PTSD. One of them has to do with verbal memory. Now, during a stressful event, your amygdala acts as an alarm bell to signal to your body to fight, flight, or freeze. Now, this alarm bell is sent to many places, including the prefrontal cortex, which can evaluate the amygdala's threat signal and can dampen it if the threat isn't actually dangerous. But in individuals with PTSD, not only is the amygdala in overdrive, but the prefrontal cortex and brain areas essential to language are shutting down. Now, what does this mean? Essentially, I can physically and emotionally re-experience my trauma in the forms of flashbacks, dissociations, nightmares. I have a really hard time explaining to you exactly what happened. The sting of rain against my face, that orange shirt I was wearing, clinging to my body, drenched, shrill of the wind as it hits metal, the sound of Mom screaming, like truly screaming. I'd never heard that before. It sounded tinny, sharp. I'd imagine that's what helplessness sounds like. The feeling of the textured deck underneath my curled toes, the smell of the ocean when it's vengeful. It smells like salt and petrichor, buried things in anger. Oh shit, he said. The sky, black. Shaking of the waves and the sound they make like a boom and then a sizzle, crackling and burning, the tipping of the boat in water, too much water, so much water, I'm alone, so alone, gravity. Now, another big issue with PTSD, something called memory fragmentation. Now, during a stressful event, your hippocampus, which is in charge of long-term memory storage as well as contextualizing events, is dysregulated. This means that memories concerning chronology, context, time, place are not being stored. Now, I remember elements of the event, flashes of memories, but nothing is sequential, outline, focused, until certain things are too real, too focused, intrusive. The brain is going back to the trauma and playing the memory over and over again, trying to make out the narrative beneath the confusion, unable to get out of the loop as it stumbles, stops, and then skips back again. So we're sailing somewhere. And at some point, the sky went dark, like black. And I remember being alone. No, Dad, I was alone. I remember being alone. I think I remember. And I remember the feeling of rain and darkness. I don't remember which came first. and my toes on the floor of the boat deck. Mom, she's screaming. It's like tin sharp. I've sworn that's what helplessness sounds like. Orange shirt sticking to my stomach. Oh shit, you said. I'm alone. Thought the sails ripped. Maybe they didn't. Maybe it was just my skin that tear, but I don't remember blood. Maybe it was just a page from my brain. A chapter of my cortex ripped and thrown into the ocean, or maybe it was a little piece of myself floating on sea foam, drowned. We're sailing them. We're sailing somewhere. Every time I got back on the boat after that summer, the accident would happen over and over and over again. The small lean of the hull, and I felt the boat tipping into the sea, winds over 10 miles per hour, and we were back to sailing out of control. Ripples turned to seas, rain clouds into hurricanes, a breeze into gale force winds. A small nudge, memory, fling me back into that broken day. And I couldn't remember anything, but I could remember everything. But most of all, I had absolutely no control. I hated how out of control my brain and body had become under the beck and call of my trauma, so I controlled what I could. I developed an eating disorder, and with social anxiety and depression close to follow. So many of these things tie together into an intricate, fragmented web. It's hard to find the source of it all. And then there comes a point. It doesn't really matter how it started, but that it's there, all of it. And it's choking me. So, as I entered college, my trauma came with me, a real interesting dynamic duo. But when I attended my first neuroscience course and the teacher started to discuss PTSD, things took a sharp turn. I started to find out what was going on with my brain, what was happening to my body, that there were people like me out there, and the people doing something about it. Neuroscience validated my experience in a way my friends, my family, I myself couldn't. It gave me words to an experience I wasn't able to verbalize. It gave me a language to speak and to comprehend. It made me understand that this wasn't my fault. That I wasn't just being dramatic. That I wasn't making things up. My experience. All of our experiences are real, valid, subjective, and true. So, this summer just passed, kind of like summers now. I spent these past months taking physics to finish up my pre-med requirements when applying to medical school. I'm doing research concerning the neuroscience of PTSD. I am volunteering with organizations dedicated to providing aid for individuals with trauma-related disorders. And I'm here, speaking with you all. I remember the first time I tried to share my trauma with someone, my words stolen, my memories broken, and the response I got was skepticism, doubt, disbelief. There are so many barriers, neurological, psychological, sociocultural, that keep individuals from speaking out, getting support, receiving empathy and validation. But please, just believe. Believe the things I cannot say. Believe the things you cannot see. And believe that I am brave, because I truly, deeply, genuinely, and courageously am.